Chapter 8 is dealing with exponents. We're going to simplify expressions with different type of exponents, and we're going to build up as we go through day by day. Tomorrow we're going to talk about scientific notation, so we should be in good shape. All right, so what I want you to do at the end is we're going to copy this piece right here. I'll just show you some examples here in a minute. Today's lesson is about 2 of our 5 rules of exponents. The first rule is going to be the 0, which means that anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So, if you tell me that you have 8 to the 0 power, the answer is 1. If you have x to the 0 power, the answer is 1. If I have 16 A, B, C, D, E inside a parenthesis to the 0 power, my answer is
1.
Okay? No problems with that. The second rule that we're going to deal with is called the reciprocal rule. And that means I have a negative power. Well, you guys know what a reciprocal is, correct?
Yeah.
You flip it. So if you have a negative power, you're going to end up flipping your expression. All right. What I want you to do, I want you to write down rules for exponents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leaves room so if we want to put some extra stuff in there, and then put a box around that, because that's the only notes that you're going to have to take for today. And then we want to talk about some examples, kind of give you an idea of what's going on.
Their assignment mainly just going to be over those 2 rules.
Yes, they are. And then we have to deal with expressions too, but we'll get those in a minute. Friday, you know, you're going to have the same video again, and I will review everything every day basically so that we remember these rules. And there's only 5. So, are we good?
Question.
Yes.
So for the 0 rule, if it is like 0x, do we
X to the
include,
0.
yeah, do we include the letter?
No. The answer's 1. All right. Now I want to look at this table. This is an X and a Y table, and we would graph it, but we're not going to get excited. Right here, what is 2 to the 0?
1.
Just plain old 1. Well, what's 2 to the first?
2.
2.
And what's 2 to the second?
4.
And 2 to the third?
6.
8.
8. You're multiplying. Remember, 2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2. Then 2 to the fourth,
16.
and then 2 to the fifth.
32.
So that's pretty easy. So they're going to ask you to evaluate. They might give you a number like 3 to the second power, and you have to be able to figure the answer out, okay? All right, now let's go the other way.
1.
When I have that negative power, what happens to that 2? No, it doesn't turn negative. What does that negative power do? It makes the reciprocal. You got to remember, it never changes to a plus or minus. That never is affected. All it does is make the reciprocal. So this is 1/2. So what will the next one be?
1/4.
Because basically it's saying 1 over 2 to the second. Because the negative power means the reciprocal. All right, what's our next one?
1/8.
And the next one?
1/16.
And the last guy. Now, if you would do some of these on your calculator with the fractions, like 1/8, you get on your calculator 0.125. And if you give me that answer, I will count it wrong because it needs to be as a fraction. Okay? even though decimally it's equivalent, but I won't accept it. I want a fraction answer, okay? Unless the instructions in the word problems would say round to a particular position. But anytime you do this, it's not acceptable to have 0.125 for an answer for that. I want 1/8, because that's what we're dealing with, 1/8. All right, now, what they're gonna do is they're gonna give you problems, and they are going to say write without negative exponents. Because we usually try never to write things with negative exponents. When I look at this one right here, what's the power on the 11?
Maybe -5.
No, what's the power on the 11?
1.
1. And what's the power on the M? -5. You have to realize that each letter that you have has its own power. So in this case, do I take the reciprocal of the 11?
No.
Do I take the reciprocal of this one?
Yes.
So I have 1 over m to the 5th, and if I write it as a single fraction, I would get this type of expression. This is what you're going to be doing on homework.
And that's our answer.
This is your answer
So,
down here.
do we write it how you have up there,
This one down here would be what I'd expect. All right, let's look at this second example. What's the power on the 7?
1.
Which one will we take the reciprocal of?
B.
Only B. So what will be in the numerator? Numerator
1.
7,
Oh.
and 8 and 5.
7, a to the 5th, and which one will go into the denominator?
1 being
B
negative
to the 4. Now, you've got to remember, each number letter has its own power. That power tells you whether it stays in the numerator or goes to the denominator.
Why does it change to a positive?
Here, if they write it to me to given, then I use the reciprocal. And when I use the reciprocal, it then becomes a positive power. So if you take the reciprocal, then it goes to a positive. Now,
So that would be our answer.
that would be your answer. What if I give you the negative power in the denominator?
You have to do the
What's the
reciprocal.
reciprocal? Where does it go?
5c to the 3rd.
In the 5 stays put because it had no negative power. But the c now becomes into the numerator. So if it's in the denominator and has a negative power, it goes to the numerator positive. If it starts in the numerator with a negative power, then it goes to the denominator. Questions? All right, so you're going to have problems like that. And then finally, you're going to be given an expression something like that. And then you're going to be told what A is. So, Leo, give me a number for A.
4.
And give me a number for B. I'm going to make it a -2, just to make sure. Now, the first thing I expect you to be able to do is to rewrite that with no negative power. So what would it be?
16.
No, not without the, we're not doing the number part yet.
A.
Just look at this. Which one stays in the numerator?
A.
A squared is in the numerator. Where does B go?
Denominator.
In the denominator, and then it becomes a positive. So if I moved it, then I change it to positive. Now, we need to substitute. So our numerator is now going to be, and our denominator is going to be, so, what do I have in the numerator?
16.
What do you have in the denominator?
-8.
-8, because a -2 times a -2 times a -2 would be a -8. And then I would reduce. Questions? Let me go and check the one I did another year, because I have them for multiple years. All right. The only thing I know that I need you to write this down, these two do not have the same answer. What is the answer? In fact, let me go back. Because these